In at number 10, Judd Apatow. After the shocking altercation, some celebrities took to Twitter to share how much they disagreed with Will Smith's actions. Director Judd Apatow was probably the most vocal, who said in a series of tweets, quote, "Seems like Will Smith's plan to get comedians and the world to not make jokes about him is not going to pan out. The Williams family must be furious. Pure narcissism. Also, G.I. Jane was gorgeous. What exactly is insulting about being compared to a ripped, stunning Demi Moore?" He then replied to a tweet that mentioned that Will did what he did because Rock was insulting her alopecia. Apatow doubled down, writing, quote, "He could have killed him. That's pure out of control rage and violence. They've heard a million jokes about them in the last 3 decades. They're not freshmen in the world of Hollywood and comedy. He lost his mind." Apatow has since deleted the tweets, but we can assume he meant every word. In at number 9, Tiffany Haddish. Tiffany Haddish was one of the few celebrities who decided to support Will Smith's actions. She stated how much she loved to see a husband standing up for his wife. It probably also helped that Haddish and Pinkett Smith are friends and starred in the movie Girls Trip together. Haddish told People, quote, "When I saw a black man stand up for his wife, that meant so much to me. As a woman who has been unprotected, for someone to say, 'Keep my wife's name out of your mouth, leave my wife alone,' that's what your husband is supposed to do, right? Protect you." And maybe the world might not like how it went down, but for me it was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen because it made me believe there are still men out there that love and care about their women. Adding that she thought it was beautiful because it proved that there are husbands that still care about their wives. In at number 8, Sophia Bush. One Tree Hill star Sophia Bush tried to see both sides of the situation and tweeted out, quote, "Violence isn't okay. Assault is never the answer. Also, this is the second time that Chris has made fun of Jada on the Oscars stage, and tonight he went after her alopecia. Punching down at someone's autoimmune disease is wrong. Doing so on purpose is cruel. They both need a breather." I do appreciate how she tried to see both sides of things because both men are wrong in some ways. Chris Rock also joked about Pinkett Smith at the 2016 Oscars. Her and Will decided not to go that year to protest the lack of diversity at the award show. While hosting, Rock said, quote, "Jada said she's not coming to protest. I'm like, isn't she on a TV show? Jada's going to boycott the Oscars? Jada boycotting the Oscars is like me boycotting Rihanna's panties. I wasn't invited." He also took a jab at Will and added a comment about Will's lack of nomination that year, saying, quote, "It's not fair that Will was this good and didn't get nominated. You're right. It's also not fair that Will was paid $20 million for Wild Wild West, okay?" He said, referencing one of Smith's biggest flops. In at number 7, Lupita Nyong'o. One of the celebrities whose live reaction to the incident has gone viral is Lupita Nyong'o. Lupita was seated right behind Will Smith, so when he sat down after slapping Chris Rock, we got a clear view of exactly how she was feeling. It was the same shock and horror that most of us were experiencing at that time. Lupita won Best Supporting Actress in 2014 for her role in 12 Years a Slave and was at the 2022 ceremony to hand out the Best Costume Design award. She looked incredibly uncomfortable as she sat inches away from Will as he raged at Chris Rock on stage. One person tweeted along with her picture, quote, "Give Lupita Best Supporting Actress for her work tonight." This is now being called her second best moment at the Oscars. The first was when she took part in Ellen DeGeneres' then social media breaking selfie from the 2014 ceremony. And at number 6, Denzel Washington. Another celebrity that supported Will Smith after his outburst was Denzel Washington. During the commercial break of the show, journalists noted that Will was seen talking to Washington and Tyler Perry for an extended period of time. Will was breaking down and looking for support from the men. The Hollywood Reporter's columnist Scott Feinberg captured the moment when Denzel Washington approached Smith during a commercial break and shared it on Twitter Sunday night. The reporter added, quote, "Will appears to wipe tears away from his eyes as he sits back down with Jada, with Denzel comforting Jada and Will's rep by his side." Then during his speech for Best Actor, Will revealed what Denzel said to him, saying, quote, "At your highest moment, be careful, that's when the devil comes for you." It seems the pair are good friends. During another interview, Will said, quote, "He knew me years ago. I would go to Denzel for advice, so he's seen me through the years and he was just telling me how proud he is of who I've become and what I've become." Halfway at number 5, Nicole Kidman. Nicole Kidman easily had the most memeable reaction to the slap, and thankfully photographers captured the moment where her jaw was dropped as low as it could go. Kidman was seated in the front row, so not only did she get a clear view of the slap, we got an unobstructed view of her reaction. I really think hers is the perfect reaction to the slap because it was just so shocking. My face probably looked about the same when I saw it. Kidman is well known for another notable Oscars moment when her seal-looking clap was put on display. Thankfully, this will now be the new meme starring her. And at number 4, Serena Williams. Serena Williams was also in the front row of the show as her father and life story was showcased in the movie King Richard. Since she had such a deep connection to the film, many were wondering what her and her sister Venus's reaction would be to the outburst. She broke her silence on Instagram, where she simply shared a video of her mouth hanging open with her eyes wide, clearly showcasing what we were all feeling, utter disbelief. She then followed this up with another video, saying, quote, "I just sat down because I was like, I gotta put that drink down," again looking in shock. It was clearly a reference to what just happened. The sisters have said nothing more. Many are wondering if the family is hurt that Will would hurt the legacy of the film, or if they approve of what he did. And at number 3, Nick Viall. Nick Viall, former Bachelor contestant, gave his thoughts on the slap, and he was asked to compare it to the drama on The Bachelor. Viall said what happened at the Oscars was, quote, "way more dramatic than what happens on The Bachelor." Adding, quote, "I think most people just wondered if it was like a bit or a joke, if it was fake. I think pretty quickly we realized it was serious." I also shared that he felt bad for Chris Rock, adding, quote, "Chris Rock is there to be a comedian. He tells jokes. Obviously, there's going to be some at the expense of people. Everyone has a right to feel how they feel, and we have our hurt feelings, but how we handle our hurt feelings matters." Viall continued that he doesn't think Smith handled his feelings in the best way, but added that his performance in King Richard was amazing and he deserved the win. And at number 2, Ethan Klein. One YouTuber that made their thoughts incredibly clear was Ethan Klein, who posted a string of tweets denouncing Will's actions. He wrote, quote, "Will Smith's just a walking L since his wife decided to start weekly humiliating him on her Facebook show. Probably should deal with whatever trauma he has with her instead of punching Chris Rock in the face for an extremely tame joke. He needs to be escorted out of the Oscars, L." Adding in another tweet, quote, "Will Smith won and got a standing ovation. I'm in awe. The show went on like nothing happened. Will Smith punched a comedian for doing his job. He's a celebrity in the front row of the Oscars where it's normal to be roasted. Bad taste or not, defending Will equals brain rot." Many pointed out that Will only did so because Chris made fun of his wife's alopecia, but Klein did not back down and said that that's no reason to slap someone in the face, which I completely agree with. And finally at number 1, Howard Stern. Howard Stern did not hold back on his Monday morning radio show, completely blasting Will Smith for his actions. Stern said, quote, "What you saw on TV was a guy with real issues. That's crazy. That's crazy when you can't contain yourself." His co-host Robin Quivers called the a, quote, "blindsided attack," noting that Rock had no idea that the hit was coming. Both Stern and Quivers blasted the Academy for not immediately ejecting Smith from the event, with Stern adding, quote, "You don't provide security, you don't have someone to come up there. Chris Rock was just trying to make people laugh at the ceremony, which is so long and boring." Comic Nikki Glasser also called into the show to agree, with her adding that she's afraid of what might happen to other comedians when they make risky jokes at a comedy club. All three blasted the inaction from other celebrities in the room and the Academy for doing nothing. First up on the list is The View co-hosts. Sunny Hostin and Whoopi Goldberg discussed the now infamous slap situation while on their talk show the next morning. They were particularly weighing in on the idea of taking away Will Smith's Oscar. Quote, "I think Will was immature. I think he was childish and he was violent. There will be consequences, I'm sure, but I don't think that that's what they're going to do. Particularly because Chris said, listen, I'm not going to press any charges." Anna Navarro also stated, quote, "Hitting somebody is a crime." While she called Chris Rock's joke a, quote, "lame joke, a joke made in poor taste," she believes that the slap is not equivalent. Joy Behar discussed the impact on comedians. Quote, "They want us to be edgy, to go out there and say what everyone's thinking, and then they get mad." I don't think anyone has thought about G.I. Jane in like a decade, but I mean, whatever. Okay, next up is Cher, and hear me out on this one. It's kind of not really about Chris Rock, but more so Cher just being like the best person ever and so inadvertently hilarious. The night that the slap happened, Cher tweeted out in all caps, "Oh, what a night, I'm so happy." I thought that in and of itself was hilarious, but then people in the replies started freaking out. When someone was being pretty vicious to her, she replied that she had no idea what anyone was talking about and that the tweet was about how she went and got a bottle of Dr. Pepper. Her mind. Immediately once she realized what was going on, she tweeted, quote, "Haters FKU. Everyone is so ready to pounce. Does anyone in their right mind think that I wouldn't have said something had I known? Me of all people?" And she did it in that weird every letter is a capitalized thing that she does. I love her so much, she's so funny. Next on the list is Jimmy Fallon. Editor, please put up the picture of Jimmy Fallon in blackface on that one SNL skit while I say what he said. Don't want anyone to think that that's been forgotten of at all. The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon host quipped during his monologue the day after the awards show,
Quote, "America may be divided, but it was kind of nice for all of us to come together and say holy crap at the same time. Of course, I have to address the big moment that everyone's talking about, and that is Questlove winning the Oscar for Best Documentary." Congrats, Questlove, on your big night. Next up is Nicole Kidman, the queen behind the viral reaction photo to the Oscar slap. Soon after the slap incident, a photo of Nicole with her jaw basically on the floor went through the internet as a reaction to the night's events. That being said, I'm definitely cheating here because her reaction wasn't actually to the moment itself. In fact, it was for a much sweeter moment that happened hours prior to Will Smith schmacking Chris Rock. The photographer who took the shock Nicole photo stated that the reaction was actually Jessica Chastain walking into the room, and Kidman was excited to see her. That's pretty cute, I'm not gonna lie. Next up is Nikki Minaj. I love her music, she's an amazing rapper, but she has been criticized for being with a man who did some really messed up stuff. I can't really go into it here, it's a lot, but you should definitely look it up because it makes her reaction a little sus. The rapper wrote on Twitter, quote, "I love Chris Rock. I don't think he would have made that joke had he known what Jada recently shared. But between him and the whole team at the Oscars, you mean to tell me not one of y'all heard this woman just share this heartbreaking story? You just got to witness in real time what happens in a man's soul when he looks over to the woman he loves and sees her holding back tears from a little joke at her expense. This is what any and every real man feels in that instance. While y'all all seeing the joke, he's seeing her pain." No comment. Next up is Tim Heidecker. I just think he's funny, and he's one of the original comedians behind absurdist humor, one of my favorite comedy styles, but this entire post that he made was totally satire, just in case you didn't know. Anyway, on his Instagram a few hours ago at the time of writing this, he posted this extremely deep, sad-looking photo of himself, and the caption is, quote, "My heart breaks for comedy itself. We cannot allow violence to stop us from speaking the truth. Comedy is a sacred art, from back in the Bible days. Even Adam and Eve had comedy in their lives. No comic should fear for their lives just for being honest about hair or how bad someone smells. That said, offensive jokes should be met with worldwide condemnation from all, and we must all take responsibility for our actions, even if that means being physically attacked. I am one of the most offensive comedians of all time, but I must say, no more bullshit." And honestly, I love him. It just kind of highlights the absolute ridiculousness of this whole thing. Jim Carrey is next up, who stated on CBS that he felt, quote, "sickened by the standing ovation. Hollywood is just spineless en masse, and it really felt like, oh, this is a really clear indication that we're not the cool club anymore. You do not have the right to walk up on a stage and smack somebody in the face because they said words." Jim Carrey is a little unhinged lately, but I kind of agree with him on this point, and it seems like more and more he's so thoroughly done with everything to do with fame and Hollywood. Now I want to spend some time talking about the actual people involved in the incident. So next up, we're going to talk about Jada Pinkett Smith, the subject of Chris Rock's tasteless joke. Since the part 1 of this video, she has broken her silence about what went down. And might I just frame this narrative for a second and remind everyone that when the joke was initially told, Will Smith was laughing at it. It wasn't until he saw how furious Jada herself looked that he stood up and hit Chris. So really, if she hadn't reacted that way, I doubt that Will would have done anything. Anyway, she's been pretty vocal about her alopecia, and on Instagram she posted the quote, "This is the season for healing and I'm here for it." Of course, this comes after Will accepted his award for his role in King Richard, and in the speech, Will spoke about how he wants to be like Richard, who was, quote, "a fierce defender of his family." So I guess that Instagram post on Jada's part was her approval of Will's reactions. Next up, we've got the man himself, Will Smith. He only just recently broke his silence about the incident. Again, during his acceptance speech, he went off about how he will protect his family no matter what, yada yada yada. He then later apologized to the Academy and to the other nominees for his actions, but it wasn't until a few days ago that he finally apologized to Chris Rock. In a post made on Instagram, Will states, quote, "Violence in all of its forms is poisonous and destructive. My behavior at last night's Academy Awards was unacceptable and inexcusable. Jokes at my expense are a part of the job. But a joke about Jada's medical condition was too much for me to bear and I reacted emotionally. I would like to publicly apologize to you, Chris. I was out of line and I was wrong. I am embarrassed and my actions were not indicative of the man I want to be. There is no place for violence in a world of love and kindness. I say we take it to the ring and let him juke it out." And now we finally got Chris Rock's reaction to the whole debacle. His reaction has been, well, nothing. Outside of indicating that he would not file charges against Will Smith, he's been absolutely silent. Not a peep. Now, at the time of recording this video, which is Wednesday the 30th, he has a live show tonight, and I am like absolutely certain that that's when he's going to bring it up. I mean, how could you not? The show is obviously sold out, and my prediction is that he will make extremely lighthearted jokes about it before forgiving the apology. That's my prediction, alright? It's locked in. I don't think Chris is the type of person to hold a grudge like this. I mean, he's a professional comedian, someone who is known for having to be a little edgy. If he can't take just a bit of flack, then he'll no longer come out as the semi-good guy in this situation. So I guess by the time this video airs, there will be something that Chris Rock has said, and I really can't wait to hear what it is, popcorn in hand. Lamar Odom is first up on the list as someone who, for some reason, turned the whole conversation back on himself and trying to win back Khloe Kardashian, even though she wants absolutely nothing to do with him now. When asked about his reaction to the slap heard across the world, he stated, quote, "He loves his wife. I do not condone violence against anyone. Will Smith loves Jada Pinkett Smith. I was told love covers a multitude of sins. Had I protected my wife," referring to Khloe, "versus mentally, emotionally, and spiritually hurting her, I may still be married. I respect a man who doesn't quit the hustle, even though it's definitely not gonna happen." Either way, he seems a lot more empathetic for Will Smith's cause than the average person. Jane Hubert is next on the list. She portrayed Aunt Viv in The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air alongside Will Smith in his younger years. Although she did say that both parties were acting wrongly in this circumstance, she did extend some more sympathy towards Will Smith. Quote, "There's only so much one can take, sometimes you have to slap back. Celebrate the win, nothing else matters. Both actions were incorrect, but Chris didn't need to go there." Likely by there, she meant poking fun at Jada's autoimmune disorder of alopecia. Next up on the list is MJ Rodriguez. MJ is a Golden Globe winner and a GLAAD honoree who has shown some support for Will. She's known for her roles in Nurse Jackie and Tick Tick Boom. She felt the need to show some kindness towards the Men in Black actor during the Vanity Fair Oscar after party the night of the slap. Quote, "Sometimes when you're speaking about somebody's wife, you can't really help that. So that's what I would say." I think a lot of people are showing more empathy for Will, who was caught in kind of a tough situation of feeling the need to defend his wife from something she's sensitive about. I think you can recognize when someone is wrong and still understand why they did what they did, as it seems to be the case with MJ here. Next on my list is a US Congresswoman named Ayanna Pressley, who I guess didn't have much else going on that day because America is notoriously peaceful. In a since deleted tweet, she posted a picture of herself and her husband. She's also got alopecia like Jada, and the tweet said, quote, "Alopecia Nation stand up. Thank you, Will Smith. Shout out to all the husbands who defend their wives living with alopecia in the face of daily ignorance and insults. Women with baldies are for real men only. Boys need not apply." I love this trend of other notable people who decide to just make the whole thing about themselves. Next on my list is Jaden Smith. Okay, this one is kind of cheating because obviously he'd have to defend his own family and stay on his dad's side, but I'm still gonna count it. After the Oscars party had occurred and war was raging on Twitter in full swing, Jaden simply showed his support for his dad with a tweet. He said, quote, "And that's how we do it." The tweet got over 1 million likes and tons of attention from people who continued fighting in the comment section, obviously because what else is Twitter for? Of course, Jaden would side with his own father, but it's interesting that both Jada and Willow at the time of writing this have remained entirely silent, although I think that may be the smarter of two choices when it comes to the backlash that they could face while the world is looking in on their family. Next up is, surprisingly, Jim Carrey. When the Oscar slap first occurred, Jim Carrey was super outspoken about how deplorable getting up on stage and slapping someone is. He very specifically said that the moment when Will went on stage was, quote, "sickening." Initially, he described the incident as deplorable and that celebrities aren't cool anymore. However, while he was promoting Sonic the Hedgehog 2, he elaborated in his previous comments with a quote, "The fact is that license is being given to people to act out violently when they don't like what they hear, and it just shouldn't be. I also think that people not unlike Will or myself, we live in a lot of pressure. We set up a lot of pressure for ourselves, and we're encouraged by this country to never stop and never be satisfied and never take a look at our lives and go, you know what, I'm enough. I've had enough. I've done enough. I don't need 9 businesses. I don't need to be a movie producer, director, writer, actor, star, and have a record company, and be on TikTok, and be on social media, and have a reality show, and share my innermost life on some therapy show. I don't condemn him for that, it's just wrong. Jim was super eloquent about the whole thing, and although he didn't outright fully take Will's side, he did defend him, and he does believe that we shouldn't be so harsh on someone who's so involved in the pressure of being in the spotlight. Next on my list is kind of, in my opinion, a definite defense of Will Smith. And it's the entire Oscars crowd. While we do have some memorable reactions to the shouting match that went on for a bit, when Will went up on stage again, this time to accept his Oscar for King Richard, he was met with a standing ovation. Everyone in that crowd got up and clapped for him. This tells me that when everyone decided to condemn Will for his action, they were only doing so because that became the popular opinion. To go from a standing ovation and encouraging Smith after he slapped another performer instead of speaking in private with him afterwards, to now condemning him on Twitter and labeling his actions as deplorable, it just tells me that your morals only go with what is popular and don't actually speak for what you genuinely believe. I just feel like this whole thing really reveals the hypocrisy of Hollywood. At the end of the day, saying that Will could have killed Chris Rock is absolutely ridiculous, and just further shows how soft the industry actually is. They outcry that this is an act of violence while committing heinous acts themselves that, just because people aren't caught, it didn't happen. Next on the list of celebs who defended Will Smith is rapper Nikki Minaj. The artist went on a bit of a rant on Twitter about the altercation. She tweeted out, quote, "I love Chris Rock. I don't think he would have made that joke had he known what Jada recently shared, but between him and the whole team on the Oscars, you mean to tell me not one of y'all heard this woman just share her heartbreaking story? Come on, son. You just got to witness in real time what happens in a man's soul when he looks over to the woman he loves and sees her holding back tears from a little joke at her expense. This is what any and every real man feels in that instance. While y'all seeing this joke, he's seeing her pain." It seems that she was more interested in the defense of Jada rather than the reaction itself. I think she really feels for a man who is attempting to defend his wife even if it is a wholly inappropriate situation. Second to last on my list is Tiffany Haddish. Tiffany also took a similar stance to Nicki Minaj in the sense that she also felt that Will was trying to protect his wife. Speaking to the Los Angeles Times, Tiffany stated, quote, "I think Chris was messy. As a woman who had a husband, I wish my husband would have stood up for me the way Will stood up for Jada. That's what every woman wants, right? She was hurt and he protected his wife, and that's what a man is supposed to do." Although not many people defended Smith, the ones that do seem to focus less on his action and more so on how he decided to protect Jada rather than remain silent. Last on the list is Jamila Jamil. Jamila, always one with an opinion, and more so one that's wrong rather than right, also chose to spoke out in defense of Will. Her reaction was much more unique than I think the others are, and that's why I put it last. The actress took to Twitter to speak about the Oscars slap. Quote, "Will Smith said not today. A man big enough to absolutely floor him slapped him softly enough that Chris barely moved because he made fun of his wife's alopecia on a world stage. Don't say protect black women for 2 years and then only condemn Will here. Come on." I don't personally see how this was an attack against black women, but maybe that's not my place to say.